So, welcome back. Draft Bus episode 3 now. Three. So, we're changing our format a little bit. We're going to change how we do videos. So, we're going to, of course, record them, and every Monday is when the new videos are going to be posted.
Yeah, so we get basically the week's worth of information that comes out. So, like the Greg Jennings thing, we wouldn't have been able to talk about that because we recorded on Thursday, and he got signed like Thursday.
Yeah, we would have missed that. We would have missed like Steve Jackson news, stuff like that. So, we figured out Monday's the best because that's kind of like the day before, the day nothing happens.
Yeah.
Really is the first day of the week. So that's kind of how we go. But of course, this week we got a ton of stuff to talk about. Free agency frenzy, of course, is like we started calling it.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of news. You know, free agency started, was it Tuesday at 4?
Tuesday at 4.
So about a week ago. And of course, the big news sign that everybody thought was Mike Wallace.
Yeah, I mean that was huge going to Miami. Third highest paid wide receiver now in the NFL, which is
who's 1 and 2?
Megatron and Fitzgerald.
Kind of makes sense there.
I think that's a little too steep of a price, but Miami had to get something. As everybody says, he's a guy that could take the top off or stretch the defense, so that's huge for them.
Well, it's like last year Miami missed out on their great receiver.
Yeah.
And then this year they were kind of like, we're not going to miss out on anybody. You know, we're getting who we need to succeed, which I think that changes Miami from finishing in the middle to finishing towards the top.
Yeah.
Top 10 teams
at least potential wild card team for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Just depending on Tannehill how he does this year.
They may end up taking that away from the Ravens.
Yeah, sure. Because the Ravens have had a fire sale, which is we'll get into a little bit later in the episode today. But another huge thing, Wes Welker going to the Broncos, which to me is the ultimate backstab to the Patriots. I mean, because you go from, I mean, good for him because he's got,
the man's been your best receiver for at least 3 years. You know, you got the tight ends, but I mean, Wes Welker is your go-to guy.
In the past 6 years, he led the NFL in catches and third down conversion catches.
Doesn't he have 3 years of 100-plus catches or something?
Yeah, like it's something ridiculous, and I just can't believe the Patriots didn't say, "Hey, we're going to re-sign you."
Well, it's not even that. It's you know, the Patriots signed Amendola. And from what I heard is that they signed Amendola before Wes Welker ever signed with the Broncos.
Wow. And
not only that, they're actually paying Amendola more.
Yeah, they're giving him more years and more money.
Like $100,000. It's not a whole lot more. We're not talking about like millions of dollars more. It's like less than $1 million more. To a man who has been healthy 1 of his 4 seasons in the NFL.
I mean, it is a little bit upgrade age-wise because, I mean, let's face it.
That's the only thing they're getting, though.
Patriots have been getting a little bit older like the Patriots and, I mean, like the Steelers. So props to them getting a little bit younger with Amendola. But like I said, they cut Brandon Lloyd.
Yeah, they just cut Brandon Lloyd yesterday, I think. Actually,
so they're putting a lot of eggs in the Amendola basket.
Right now, the receiving corps for Tom Brady is Hernandez, Gronk, and Amendola. That's all they got.
You can't really say that's terrible, but they don't have that deep threat.
They don't have any receivers. They have tight ends, and then they have 1 receiver, essentially.
But do you think they're going to stack 8 in the box and cover those freak of nature?
My biggest thing with Amendola is that he's been healthy 1 full season of his 4.
That is very true. But
so Wes Welker, I don't think missed more than a game for as long as I can remember.
Wes Welker always got dinged up for, I don't know, it's tick for tag. They both have their upside and downside.
Yeah. So I do think the Broncos got a good steal with him because it now adds 3 dominant receivers that they have.
Yes,
you know,
De'Narius Thomas, Decker,
top,
and Welker. Yeah. So Peyton Manning is just going to pick defenses apart. And this guy in our fantasy football league has Peyton Manning as his keeper, which is huge because let's face it, Peyton Manning probably has 2 more years left in
2 more good years. Yeah,
in the gas tank, and that's what they signed Welker for. So you got to think they got at least a pretty decent shot now. And I mean, a lot of feedback on Twitter is Seattle, San Francisco, or Denver in the Super Bowl.
And only 2 of those can make it to the Super Bowl on the other side.
Yeah. So after this week, I mean, you got to put a lot of eggs in the Denver basket for the.
Talking about Denver, they actually filled one of their holes as far as cornerback go, signing Rogers Cromartie.
Yep.
So I think that's a big steal for them because that's something they really need.
The big news yesterday is that they released Elvis Dumervil
through a fake fax thing.
Through a crazy situation where
I was reading about
they filed the papers 7 minutes late, but they cut him exactly at like 4 o'clock.
4 minutes before they cut him, and then they got the papers 7 minutes later.
That is very interesting, and Elvis Dumervil actually fired his agent today.
Yeah, over that whole debacle.
So
I could see him still trying to re-sign him. but they're not going to sign for what they were going to restructure his contract for. They can get him for less than $8 million if they're going to get him.
Yeah, and so he can go somewhere else and get at least $8 million. Because I mean, there's a lot of defenses out there. Atlanta looking for a pass rusher.
He won't get his, I guess, probability of going to the big game. Yeah, a lot of the other teams. The Patriots would be the ideal one for him because they have no rush on defense.
No pass rush, and that's been their downfall.
And they got that. They could very well make a push.
Yeah.
Some of the other ones, of course, you know, Amendola deal, and Victor Cruz is still out there. Where will he go? I think he's going to probably stay with the Giants.
Victor Cruz is one of those just playmakers, so you got to re-sign him.
A deep threat guy. It definitely is, and that's. I mean, if you think Eli, he lives off having deep threats.
I mean,
he doesn't throw many short passes. He throws deep
Victor Cruz
bombs.
and Hakeem Nicks. That is a great 1-2 threat in any offense in the NFL. So.
And they also have Umanora from the Giants, which he actually went to. Didn't he go to the Pats to kind of have a field day? Not really signing. He didn't sign anything. He just went to.
He's been searching around the NFL with a few different teams just to see if he could get. Just throwing nets out there to see if he could catch anything.
Along his lines, there's also Freeney. So he got cut by the Colts last week.
He actually, I saw that he visited with the Patriots not too long ago.
He did. Him and Abraham.
Yeah, John Abraham.
Both went at the same time.
So,
which Freeney is somebody that apparently Peyton Manning's been courting to try to get to come to the Broncos. Which, now that Denverville's gone,
it's going to be huge.
It could be a big thing if it did.
Who else? Greg Jennings signed with the Vikings, literally cross-state rival, which is pretty huge. It's almost like a Brett Favre stabbing a back type for the Packers.
And then he realized that his quarterback's Christian Ponder.
Or Matt Castle, because they signed Matt Castle as backup.
Matt Castle's actually, they said the starting job is open. So, the only two quarterbacks they really have is Ponder, Matt Castle. Of course, they have Webb, but you saw how Webb performed in the playoff game.
Great thing about this upcoming weekend free agency, everybody knows the big splashes that are going to happen, like Mike Wallace, the top.
Reggie Bush to the Lions. Stuff like that.
But the big thing is, these next few weeks is when all these key players, like Ron Landry, has he signed with anybody yet?
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, he hasn't signed with anybody yet. I mean, he's a pretty decent safety. Ed Reed's still trying to make up his mind.
Ed Reed, right now it looks like Ed Reed's between Houston and the Ravens.
Yeah.
And the Houstons weren't giving him enough for him to leave the Ravens. And then you got Long, the center.
Yeah. Long from Miami, he hasn't decided, and that's huge for any offensive line.
Fill some holes on some of the offensive line for sure.
Next few weeks are going to be very interesting. You got to stay tuned. Sorry about our whole Twitter hack this weekend. Sorry about that.
Everyone gets hacked.
So we changed our password a few times to get on that. But we're going to keep you up to date on that. Another huge signing, Steven Jackson to the Falcons.
Replace Turner. I think he is leaps and bounds better than Turner ever was.
I think that is a great upgrade for them. Just because, one, I think he's a better downhill runner. Yeah, Michael Turner was short and stiff, but I think Steven Jackson's a more prototype of a running back. So
Turner was one that you could get, you're on the 3 and you just pound it right in.
Yeah.
And Jackson's not going to be like that. Jackson's going to be like, you're going to give it to him on the 35, and he's going to break it for a touchdown.
Yeah.
So that's the big difference, and that's something they really need to rely on, because when they got really far ahead this last year, they
couldn't run the clock out.
They couldn't, because they didn't have a running team that would get them, more than 3 yards a carry.
Yeah.
I mean, they have an okay running offense, but it wasn't a long run offense.
I think Steven Jackson is a great upgrade from what Michael Turner was, and with Jacquizz Rodgers, that's a great 1-2 punch with strength and power. Just like with the Titans signing Sean Green, I think that is a great sign by the Titans. Not just saying that because I'm a Titans fan, but Chris Johnson was 10 times better than what he was the past few years when he had LenDale White. Because
how do you forget LenDale White even played with it?
But it's just one of those great upgrades that you see 95% of the teams now have a strength and power back and one finesse busted open back. The
only team I can think that doesn't is the Vikings. And that's only because AP is both.
Yeah, AP is legit both. Ben Tate with the Texans more of their power back. But
yeah, definitely.
They are more of a 60-40. Like Arian Foster still run over people. But yeah.
But that's a huge one, of course. You mentioned Sean Green. kind of things out there is quarterback moves. You know, there are some teams that need quarterbacks.
A lot of teams.
And apparently, in my opinion, some of them weren't signing the best quarterbacks, like Arizona signing Drew Stanton.
Yeah. Gerard going to what the...
Gerard got signed by the Jets one day before Fitzpatrick got released, which if I was a Jets GM, I would be really mad. Yeah. And I signed a man with a hurt back before a healthy starter.
But that leaves it open for the draft leading into that in the next few weeks. Like I said last week, Geno Smith will be the only quarterback drafted in the first round.
In my opinion.
Apparently, he had a great pro day.
He missed 3 or 4
Yeah, he went like 64 for 66 on his passes and were deep balls right on the money. Which threw 2 incomplete passes and had like 2 or 3 drops, something like that. So yeah.
What's really going to help this guy is the quarterbacks that we've had this year with Kaepernick, Russell Wilson, RG3, those type of quarterbacks. And that's kind of what Smith is.
Well, the thing is, he, like, to me, looking at him from West Virginia, yeah, he's going to be a play action pass.
Yeah.
But he only ran the ball 68 times in the 60s this year for 120 yards, and one of those runs was like for a 28-yard run. I heard that on Mike and Mike. He is a legit pocket passer. So,
but he's still got some legs.
Yeah, he can still run.
And the way I look at Kaepernick is more, to me, a pocket passer.
Yeah.
But he sees it open so much that he just
runs a
books
4-4 and takes off. So, Geno Smith, they were talking about how can he be #1 pick, and I don't think... I know the Chiefs aren't going to take him. They're looking toward that left tackle just because, I mean, left tackles can come in and fill a hole right away.
I could see him going for the Utah DT,
Lockle.
though. Yeah, the guy with the heart problem.
But then you got to look at Arizona and Buffalo at like 4 and 5. They might trade up. Even Jacksonville at 2. They may reach out and get him. Oakland, I don't know what their whole situation is, so you don't know. But
I think Oakland is just waiting, and they're going to cut somebody again. God, and then I think Pryor's going to start before the year's over.
Yeah,
I definitely think that because Carson Palmer's going to get out there and have a 4-interception game. And unlike the Cowboys, the Raiders are going to sit him.
Yeah, I think that leads actually into the next conversation about the Raiders and Ravens releasing everybody. They just had a fire sale, especially the Ravens. They've destroyed that defense.
The Ravens, it seemed like everybody was for sale except for Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco and Ray Lewis in their center because they retired. But other than that, they are not re-signing anybody.
They literally let almost everybody that they've had.
Their #1 tackler, their #1 sack person.
Suggs is like the only person they had.
Yeah,
that's because his contract wasn't enough.
Suggs and Upshaw are the only people that they have from their linebacking core.
I've been preaching this since the day they signed Joe Flacco to $120 million, is that if they don't refill their defense, they're not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because that's the only reason Joe Flacco, he can run offense. They got a great offense. I mean, they really do have a good offense. But without their defense, they're not going to be like a Tom Brady type team that can just win off no defense.
And the Browns they literally stole their #1 sacker. And
the Browns did get a lot of good picks.
Yeah,
signs.
And the Browns, surprisingly, are an upcoming team. Yeah, they got Brandon Whedon, who's like 29. But Trent Richardson did nothing but great things last year besides his little...
He kind of gave him some faith.
Yeah, he had a little...
He got hurt a little bit, yeah.
Just like a minor injury, nothing crazy.
I think he had a hamstring issue for a couple weeks.
He literally was a top 10 running back, so you got to think they are at least up and coming. Just a few more missing pieces.
We're not saying they're winning the Super Bowl in the next 5 years.
But they're going to compete.
They'll be a contender.
For at least the NFC North. I mean, you got to look at the Bengals and Browns coming up, and the age is catching up to the Steelers and Ravens.
Yeah, and you got to look because, I mean, like you're saying, the age is catching up to them. And the Steelers let go of Harrison.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think that's one of their best defensive players they have. I mean, Polamalu and Harrison, that's their defense to me.
Yep.
And which we didn't even mention is Harrison's still out there for someone to sign.
Yep. Which would be a huge steal. It just he has a lot of problems with illegal hits, but that's just the way he plays. So you can't really take a lot of.
He's relentless.
Yeah.
To say the least. But getting to the Raiders, some of their things is they cut their best defensive tackle. They Hayward Bay they cut.
They cut a lot of bad contracts, which, I mean, you got to...
Not bad players, just the ones that aren't performing to their contract.
Yeah. Darius Hayward Bay, he was a first-round pick. Hasn't lived up to the hype, which he wasn't a first-round pick, but they cut him. Michael Huff is a Raiders fan. I'm sad to see that go just because he was a great safety, and whoever gets him is going to get a great steal. But, yeah, there's a lot of still really good free agents out there on the market. Asamoah, still out there.
Yeah, that's true. Austin Wall's still out there.
So
there's a lot of good catches left on the free agency market.
Yeah.
You know, they're not. You know, all the I think the big names kind of went very quickly.
Yeah, and that's
And
what's
now
expected. Is that
it's
they're
going to be like
splash the first few days, and
yeah, your rest are going to be your average fillers. You know, which kind of goes. I think is the lack of the free agency splash for the Cardinals. Which I think is one of the teams that I thought would make a really big splash, and they didn't do anything. I thought they would go really heavily after Reggie Bush, especially after they cut their running back.
Beanie Wells, yeah, they cut Beanie Wells,
which got signed. He got signed like a day later.
They have Howard Stephen Howling, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Howling.
Yeah, he's not a #1 running back, so you got to think that's just bad. Michael Turner's still out there. You think he may go somewhere like that?
I just hope they don't waste money on Michael Turner.
Yeah.
Because that is not their fix. And like we mentioned earlier, they signed Drew Stanton, so now, again, they don't really have a quarterback. Everyone was thinking they were going to cut Cobb on Friday. They didn't, as far as I think. So they owe him a ton of money.
I can't remember if Kevin Cobb got cut or not.
I hadn't seen any news.
I know.
Everybody said he was going to get cut on Friday.
Sorry that we didn't have this information, but yeah. I don't know. I remember reading something that he might get cut, which, I mean, he was a terrible contract.
He was going to get signed by the Jets.
Yeah, he was just one of those people with a terrible contract just because he had
Michael Vick,
3 great games.
Might have ruined Kevin Cobb's career.
Yep.
Because if he was still in the Eagles, he would have still progressed a little bit under Andy Reid's system, which Andy Reid is kind of okay at molding some quarterbacks and not making them suck as bad as they really do. Because the way he forms his offense.
Yeah,
you know? And if you can throw it deep, you can play an Andy Reid offense.
And I think with the signing of Alex Smith there with Andy Reid,
Kansas City,
it's going to be huge for them, and I think they're going to be a pretty decent contender. So.
I think they're going to be explosive. It's going to be, I mean, as far as I look, and I know I'm a Broncos fan, so this is kind of biased. The Broncos are definitely going to win the AFC West.
Yeah.
But Kansas City, I think, has the potential to get a wild card for sure.
Yeah. And you got to see that now because the AFC is down. I mean, you got to think.
There's not many
Patriots
year in year out great teams in the AFC now.
Patriots, Texans, and Pats. Well, sorry. Patriots, Texans, and Broncos. I said the Patriots twice.
Yeah, that's your 3.
Yeah, that's your top 3, and then that is wide open.
Pre this free agency, I would have thrown the Ravens in there because of their defense, but their defense is gone now.
They shut them down, so you got to think of Miami creeping up that.
This is the year for teams to rise from the bottom to the top.
Yep.
And that's what they kind of did with their free agency. And some other things, we go into the Lions. They cut a couple people, but they signed a ton. Reggie Bush, I think, is their biggest signing, which kind of turns their team from having a one-way offense as far as like just throwing it to Megatron all the time to now, I mean, it's open.
Yeah, and I think that might be one of the best places for Reggie Bush to go is because, let's face it, when he was at USC, when he whooped absolute ass, he was more of a dink and dunk, like, oh, I'm just going to throw this little dump pass and let him do his thing. And, I mean, he's still that great of an athlete that up there, I mean, with Megatron doing his thing on the field. Yeah,
I mean, it just opens up for the under part. You know, dumping it off to Reggie Bush. Heck, even handing it off to Reggie Bush in some type of play action.
Yeah, and I mean, they even still have Brandon Pettigrew, who's an absolute great athlete at tight end.
They signed a receiver, and I can't...
I don't know. It's just so crazy.
There's so much going on. I can't remember all of what happened. To be honest, but I think that's another of those teams that go from missing the playoffs last year to now. I think they have the chance.
Yeah,
I mean they do have a tough division. I mean, they got the Vikings, they got the Packers, and then of course them.
The Bears. Yeah,
the Bears.
That's honestly one of the toughest divisions in the NFL.
So it's a little rough for them. So, but I think they could leapfrog and kind of come up. On their side of it for sure.
Yeah.
But like, and Nick hates this, and I think this is a free agent quarterback's dream year. As we talked, Geno Smith is the only one that's going to go in the first round. Really, you do got Matt Barkley, and you got one more guy,
Glendon from North Carolina State. Those are the only two.
Those are your top quarterbacks.
Like, quarterbacks this year in the draft is very down.
And then free agency wise, I mean, you got your Fitzpatrick, which
who just got recently cut.
And then you got Vince Young, who's trying to make a comeback. You got several other ones that are out there trying to come back. But I think, like I'm saying, this is the year that you want to be a free agent quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, you can go and a backup somewhere holding a clipboard and get paid pretty decent money.
Keep a lookout for the clipboard of the week.
Yeah,
we'll be having that during the football season.
So
But I mean, for the most part, this is a straight free agency week. You know,
yeah.
So that's pretty much all we've talked about.
Next 2 weeks, I really think we'll start leading up a little bit more into the draft because that's about like a month away.
Yeah, we're gonna have our 32 teams. You know, their worst, their biggest draft bust.
Yeah.
We're gonna have that leading up to the draft for sure. So keep a lookout. We'll probably post some of those on Twitter.
We'll keep you updated on Twitter. Speaking of Twitter, we got this week's follower of the week. Last week it was Evan Francis, which he retweeted the little thing. It's going to Candace Quinn at Candace Quinn 11. She is one of our followers, so look forward to
very actively tweeting.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. Just randomly, and like we said, sorry about the whole hacking thing and direct messages.
Yeah. We don't have any IT people. In fact, we could probably blame that on Twitter.
Yeah.
Because we haven't clicked on those links when they tell us there's funny pictures of us on the internet.
Son of bitches.
I want to know, but I've held myself back.
So, yeah, look forward to that.
That's pretty much it for this week. It's a shorter podcast this week than most. It is week 3. Again, we're going to start posting all these videos on Monday, kind of so we can recap the whole week of this. So,
yeah, I just think Monday is a better thing, especially once we get into the draft and football, that we'll be able to talk about the football games and stuff like that.
It's kind of best. We may, the draft week, we may have a before and after type thing.
We may post a few. You never know.
Yeah. But for the most part, keep a look on Monday. We'll be putting it out on Twitter, of course, for the most part.
In the next coming weeks, we may have a different background besides this door.
Yeah, we may. Instead of my basement.
Yep. So, keep an eye out for that. But yeah, it's great talking to you guys this week. Subscribe to us. Follow us on Twitter, NFL Draft Bust, with underscores in between NFL and Bust, and Facebook.
Yeah, that's it for this week, guys.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a great week.